This podcast is part of the Everyday Heroes Podcast Network, the network for first responders and those who support them.
Burr.
Very burr.
Very burr.
It's phrasing.
Welcome back to Scissors and Scrubs. I'm Nicole.
I'm Laura.
It's that time of year again, Laura. Your favorite time of year again.
It's the Olympics.
Dun, 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 dun. I still don't know the
excited.
music. Winter Olympics episode. But before we get to the Winter Olympics, I am fresh out of having just watched The Kingsman with Rasputin.
Oh.
Laura, the guy that I thought of you the whole time because they tell it kind of like the way that the lore is,
Mhm.
but they also have it as the English went in to assassinate him. So,
Okay.
so they kept that historical part. The guy that played Rasputin, holy shit,
Who is it?
stole the fucking movie. I don't know who it is.
Yeah.
He stole the fucking movie.
Wow.
And the whole scene that they're trying to kill him, even Garrett, who hates everything, was like, that was the best thing I've ever seen. Fucking loved it. I'm a wicked World War I buff, so the whole thing's set against the backdrop of World War I. And it's like, they gave you a history lesson with super characters on top of it.
Yeah.
I loved it. Not your movie, I fucking loved it.
Huh.
So, if you get the chance, go see The Kingsman and Rasputin steals the show. The guy steals the fucking show. I loved it, loved it, loved it. Yeah, Garrett's like, I said, we're going to the movies, you're coming. And he said, well, do I have to? I'm like, you have to. And then he watched
He doesn't want to do anything.
and he doesn't want to do anything. I'm like, he's one, like, all four of us will go someplace. And he'll be like, can I stay home? No, you're not. We're all going as a family this time. So he went. And then he's like, no, I want to watch the other ones. I like the other ones.
I don't even know what you're talking about the other ones.
Yeah, you do. The kid that played in Rocket Man plays in the first one. He plays in both of them.
I have no idea.
Taron something.
Mm.
It's the secret spy society. And he plays like a kid that gets, Colin Firth is running it and he gets him into it. This movie is how it was established. But, fucking stole the show.
Okay.
Stole it. Was excellent.
Well, if you like Rasputin as much as Nicole,
I'm
go see
obsessed with the man. I'm freaking. I have a lot of obsessions, as you'll hear in a later podcast. Rasputin is one of the most bizarre characters in history that I cannot get enough of him. And then you put him in live action. Forget it. I was done. Loved it. Okay, back to the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
I don't know
My obsession.
Laura's obsession. Laura likes to deal in reality. I like to deal in fantasy.
Mhm.
So, Laura, when were the first Winter Olympics? Do you know?
I don't know.
Oh, they were 1924
Ooh,
in
I would've said
Chamonix,
earlier.
France. I can't pronounce it because they use letters that make no sense.
Yeah, I know.
So it was in France. There were 9 disciplines in the original Winter Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Bobsleigh. We don't call it bobsledding. We call it bobsleigh.
Mm-hmm.
Curling. I can't believe curling was an original, but I love it.
Yeah, I didn't know
literally
that.
was watching it the other night, again, thinking of you.
I really think I could make a curling team.
And they get those special shoes, and they it's something to watch.
I really think I could do it.
Oh, it's something to watch. Ice hockey, which they recently just had that high school kid. Did you hear about this? I think it was a high school kid. They skated over his neck.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we need to cover ice hockey.
Yeah.
And its
It's
perils.
awful.
Nordic skiing, which included jumping, cross country, and military skiing. I don't know what
Ooh.
military skiing
Maybe
is.
with a gun and you shoot things.
You're in a hot little uniform going on the mountain.
Mhm.
Speaking of hot little uniform, the Northman's coming out with my custom-built man, Alexander Skarsgård, in it.
Oh,
So that was one of the previews, and I looked at Brian, I'm like, oh, and we're not going to see that? He's like, oh, why? Because your boy's in it? I'm like, my boy's in it, and he's playing a Viking. You don't get hotter than that,
ultimate
dude.
boy.
He is playing a Viking. It doesn't get hotter than that. No, she's like, of course he has to fight with no shirt on. I'm like, duh. If you want
Obviously.
women to go see it, yeah.
Didn't Vikings always fight with no
Oh,
shirts on?
if they were only that hot, please, would all be Nordic.
I know.
But they were not attractive, bad teeth, and they raped and pillaged.
Yeah.
Okay, so figure skating and speed skating.
Oh.
Since 1924, they have added luge,
Mhm.
short track speed, freestyle skating, skeleton, and snowboarding. To date, 4 people have died in the Winter Olympics and countless other injuries.
Mhm.
Top 8 most dangerous sport events in the Winter Olympics are ski aerials, Snowboard cross. Multiple participants race downhill through a narrow course.
I'm going to go over that.
Yep. With jumps, berms, and drops. The Sochi Olympics, I don't know if you found this in your research, apparently were a fucking disaster. They were Winter Olympics. Everybody was getting hurt. Like, everybody was getting hurt. I think 34% of the participants that were in these snowboard cross things were injured. Slopestyle skiing, slopestyle snowboarding, ski halfpipe, snow halfpipe, ski moguls, and bobsleigh. Those are the most dangerous. We are going to cover them today because you know how we love to maim, death, and dismemberment. Okay. I am going to kick it off with slopestyle skiing and snowboarding. Okay. This is all according to Top End Sports. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Slopestyle skiing is a winter sport in which athletes on skis ride a course with different types of obstacles. The last thing I need in my way when I'm skiing is an obstacle. I am my own obstacle. My poles get in my way. I trip over my feet.
I don't even use poles.
I just trip over everything. My days are coming to an end.
I literally just gave away all my stuff.
Yeah, I'm not giving it away yet, but it's quickly coming to an end.
It's not fun for me anymore.
I hate to be cold.
It's not fun.
Obstacles include straight rails, rainbow rails, up flat down rail, flat down handrail, and flat down flat handrail.
Oh.
Don't ask me what they are, but that's what they include.
Okay.
The athletes are judged on 4 categories: spins, flips, grinds, and grabs. What's a grind?
When they call that's what they call when they're going down the rail. On the rail.
Nothing better than putting cement with ice in the middle of my skis. Okay. The degree of difficulty of which each trick and overall style of the judging categories. So a few statistics from the British Journal of Sports Medicine study from 2006 to 2009. Of 662 athletes, freestyle skiers, 291 had acute injuries.
Ooh.
Acute being severe injuries. 93 severe injuries requiring a hospital stay of over 30 days.
Wow.
Most frequently injured body part was...
The head?
Close.
The leg?
The knees.
Oh.
77 injuries of the knees, 37 of them severe.
Mm.
Head was next with 34 injuries. At the Daring World Ski Championships, 106 injuries occurred. I don't know if that says Daring, but it's some kind of World Ski Championship. 15 injuries per 1,000 runs, which actually is a lot, because you can do a lot of runs in a very quick time. Okay, so we have Rose Battersby of New Zealand. She suffers a broken back at the Winter X Games in 2013. She crashes in a warm-up session and she's taken to the hospital. She suffered a lumbar spine fracture and was transferred to a hospital in Denver. According to ESPN spokesman, she is moving all of her extremities. At that same competition, the American competitor, Ashley Battersby, which cracks me up. They have the same name, no relation. It's not a common name.
No, it's not like
fucking
Martin.
Battersbys do. You know, we get 2 of them in the same goddamn competition. She crashes at the end of her 3 runs. Her legs buckle on her in her final landing and before she slid off the course and into the barrier fence. And she's being evaluated for a knee injury at Aspen Valley Hospital. My girlfriend worked there. So these are horrible, horrible injuries. As I just said, a lot of the research I was doing, they were talking about the Sochi Olympics, and they said that the Sochi Olympics, like, more injuries, they were reevaluating a lot of these sports because it was so bad.
I remember, though, like, everything was wicked icy, and everything was, like, steeper than normal, and it was, like, every course seemed to be harder than the other ones were.
So the slope style skiing and snowboarding are the same thing. Slope style snowboarding, same thing. You're on a snowboard. It debuted for the first time in 2014 at the Sochi Olympics. And when it debuted, 1 in every 3 participants at that Olympics was getting injured doing the slope style snowboarding. Most common injury, again, with the snowboarding is knee injuries. Probably a little bit better because at least your knee, I don't feel like you're strapped in as much on a snowboard as you are on skis. Can you break free? I've never snowboarded.
No, you can't break free on a snowboard. You're less strapped in on skis.
Oh, your skis let go?
Yeah.
Right. Do snowboards, is it just because you're on one, though, so you fall in a different way? Is it a better fall? Because, when skis catch, you twist it all over the goddamn place. I guess you just fall on your bum or your face, but, Face plant. So then you have Mark Mcmorris. He won a bronze in the 2018 Olympics, who had just a year before ruptured his spleen, broke his jaw, left arm, pelvis, and several ribs after hitting a tree.
I remember that.
That was 11 months after he broke his femur in another snowboarding crash.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. I don't need to do any of this. Shaun White slammed his face on the lip of a half pipe while training in New Zealand. So he's like, they're just like this, blood all over the snow. These are no joke. And for them to practice, they're taking a lot of injuries.
And when they practice, they go to these remote locations because these things aren't all over the place.
Right.
Like that kid, Mark Mcmorris, was like up in the woods in like the Alps or somewhere.
Right.
Crazy.
And can't get to a hospital.
They took hours to find him with the helicopter. Like, it was nuts.
Yeah.
Like,
it's ridiculous. All right, Laura, take it away because I'm all disjointed.
Okay. I did snowboard and skiing cross. So cross is a timed event that involves waves of competitors simultaneously racing down a course filled with various snowboarding elements like turns, drops, and ramps.
So there's more than one person going down at the same time.
You have like 4 to 6 people going at the same time down all these like
crazy
trick
shit.
things, and it's the fastest person down. You win by finishing first. So like other competitions with the skiing and snowboarding with the ramps and all that stuff, it's like what tricks you did.
Yeah.
You have a certain amount of time to do it in, but it's how were your tricks, how big were your tricks. You know, it's based on your tricks. This is who comes in first.
Period.
So it's a race with tricks in it.
Right.
It became an Olympic sport in 2006. It tops the Winter Olympics danger list. Snowboarding alone causes a lot of injuries because of all the tricks. Mix it in with a race with multiple people doing the same thing. It's insane. There are accidents and collisions that result in serious injuries. The highest cause of injury in cross is the jumps. Like all of these sports, those jumps are nuts. These kids do these flips, twists, McFlurry, whatever.
McFlurries.
And the second highest cause of injury in that race is unintended contact between the snowboarders or skiers.
I believe it.
Because you're all going over the same thing, but you're trying to do it the fastest. So
right.
You're trying to get on this jump, but I'm trying to get on this jump too.
These are all like recipes for disaster.
Yeah.
I don't understand how we think this is a good idea.
I know. There are specific, like you cannot get in the way of somebody. If you see someone come up behind you on that thing and they're gaining speed on you can't get in front of them.
Right.
Because you're going to kill them or yourself.
You're going to crash them.
Yeah. You can't intentionally push them out of the way, but obviously accidents happen when we're all trying to do the same thing at the same time. An Austrian snowboarder, Marcus Scherer, broke his neck during the men's snowboard cross quarterfinals in the 2018 Winter Olympics. He lost vertical control of his board and landed on his back. He fractured his 5th cervical vertebrae. He got back to his feet and finished the race.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He suffered 0 neurological impairments.
He's
very
lucky.
He has also broken 5 ribs and fractured his shoulders and torn 4 ligaments on the left side in previous crashes.
Wow.
And that's all I had for injuries for the snowboard cross. But there's constantly people going out from injuries from that. It's very, very dangerous.
It's actually going to make it maybe a little more exciting for me to watch this year after doing this, knowing what the dangers are that could happen. So I covered ski moguls.
Your knees. You're blowing out your knees.
All day long. That's exactly all day long. I look at those on a hill. I don't understand the enjoyment. No. Don't get it. Have no need to do it. Literally, I look at skiing now and I think, why? If there's a lot of things you're going to hear me say in the next 2 podcasts. Why? I don't get it. This is one of them. So it's a freestyle skiing competition consisting of a timed run of free skiing on a steep, heavy moguled course. You're judged by staying on the fall line, which is the shortest way from the start to finish. Calving, which is using the edge to control the speed in and out of turns through the whole run. So if you're watching, their legs like bump, 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 bump. That's what that is. Absorption and extension. How well you absorb those more, I just can't. Why?
If you see, like,
their legs are bump, bump, bump.
And your back isn't killing you from that.
Think of your hips. You're
and I'm waiting for their knees to hit their chin.
Yes, the just hitting, Upper body, head remain. So you have to have your head remain facing downhill. You can't be looking around. Your chest has to be straight, natural, and your hands have to be in front. And just think of this position. It's so not how I ski. My hands are all over the fucking place. My poles are behind me. My head's everywhere.
Side to side.
Such a mess. So hands in front in the body's natural position. And you have to do 2 jumps that are scored, and you're also scored by speed. Okay. Injuries include, as you said, Laura, a repetitive slamming on your knees, leading to all kinds of knee injuries, from ligament tears to dislocations. ACLs are it's an initiation into the sport. Somebody quoted said, you can get your FIS license, you get a national ski team suit, and an ACL replacement. Like, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
In 2014, Heidi Klosser, did you do her?
No.
Okay. Heidi Klosser crashed during the qualification round for the Sochi Olympics. I mean, like, literally, I wish I'd watched them now, because fucking everybody got hurt. Yeah. She broke her leg and is known for her heartbreaking question, am I still an Olympian, that she asked her father in the ambulance. Canadian Chris Wong went tumbling down the mountain with his leg hanging like, quote, a wet noodle in the 2007, I'm not even going to pronounce this city, Japan trials. He had torn his meniscus, his ACL, his PCL, and his MCL, which is basically every ligament that keeps your knee stable. Yeah. You can tear an ACL and probably still get around pretty well. You tear all of those, you're fucked.
There's no stabilization.
There's no stability. You have no knee, which is why his knee was hanging like a wet noodle.
Yeah.
Though that makes me hungry. It is more rare for a mogul skier to not have an injury than for them to have one. So that is mogul skiing, which I never do moguls. I remember taking my kids skiing, and the girls wanted to go down this black diamond, and you know, like an idiot, I'm like, oh, from here it looks fine. Holy shit. I was on my ass. Yeah. Like, between the steepness and these moguls, which I've never done. I don't know who I thought I was. I was overly confident in my skiing abilities as I sat on my ass and made my way down the mountain. So good.
Moguls. I do like watching them though.
I don't mind watching it because it's such a skill, but it is not for me.
Okay, I did the half pipe. The half pipe is a snow-covered sloping channel with a U-shaped cross-section to perform jumps and tricks. You've all seen it. It looks like half a tube.
Yeah. Is there a full pipe?
No. They are about 11 to 22 feet high. The Olympic standard height is 22 feet high. And the slopes are between 16 and 18 degrees. Snowboarders and skiers do the half pipe. So I'm just going over it as one. Snowboarders and skiers drop in. So you're at the top of the half pipe, at the top of the hill. And you either left or right, whichever side you feel like, whatever side your routine is, you come off the edge and drop into the pipe. And you're going fast. Like, you're dropping in, you're dropping from 22 feet high, you're moving. They soar up the opposite side that they dropped in from and are propelled into the air at the top of the pipe because you have all this gravity and force coming from behind you.
Because they make it look so easy, you don't grasp for a second how high it is, how steep it is, how fast they're going.
While they're at one, they do flips, spins, tricks, and then they land on that same wall of the pipe and go slightly downhill up the other side of the wall and do it all over again.
Or they land on the edge and they do some weird shit, like with their hands, and they kick up. And you ever see when they do that? Like, they'll land almost like they're skateboarding on the edge. They hold and they bring the... I thought I've seen snowboarders doing all that.
Probably maybe in the X Games or something, but not. All right. They usually, they have to get height. And then they go up the opposite wall, like I said, and they repeat it. They do this about 5 to 6 times on one run. Some athletes go so fast, like Shaun White, they are traveling at 2 Gs.
Woo!
Yeah. Half-pipe snowboarding made its Olympic debut in 1998 and half-pipe skiing in 2014. The record
at the Sochi Olympics.
The record for the highest jump in skiing half-pipe is held by Geoffrey Poulet-Viard. He jumped 26 feet 3 inches off the top of that 22-foot
That's high.
Wall.
Yeah. I thought he was coming down 40 feet.
Yeah. And the record for snowboarding highest jump is 24 feet, and it's held by Valentino Guselli, and he was 16 at the time.
Wow. Yep. Imagine having that record for your name at 16.
He beat Shaun White's record, which was 23 feet.
Oh,
so he went another foot higher. What's the danger in the half pipe?
Oh, I can't imagine, Laura.
The speed and the height mixed with the flips and twists on a pipe of snow with an edge is a recipe for disaster. If they lose their place in the trick, if they over-rotate because they're going too fast, if they have too much power and come down and hit the edge of that pipe, the results are catastrophic. Helmets are required for competition and training on a half pipe. You have got to wear a helmet at all times. Aaron Busk is an Olympian half pipe skier.
I love the way we say our names.
I know, God loves
Every
them.
time I listen to a podcast, we're like,
It sounds like this. In a preseason training, he was trying to land a switch double cork 1440. No skier had ever landed it in competition. He was training to land it in competition. He lifted out of the half pipe, flipped twice while spinning. So they do flips and they're spinning. I don't know how you get your body to do that, but you're flipping and twisting at the same time. And he starts to come down, and instead of his skis hitting the pipe, his shoulder did. He says he immediately started screaming in pain. Immediately. Usually, like, they hit and they kind of... He was screaming immediately. And knew that if the pain was that immediately severe, because obviously these guys fall all the time, he might be dying. This was bad. This is it. He thought he was dying. Coaches are running to... they had been filming him for training. They run over to him. He grabs one of their hands. He tells them to tell his fiance and his family that he loves them and that he loved skiing because he thinks I'm dying.
Yeah, that's how bad it is.
Yeah. He laid there trying to breathe and panicking that he was going to die. The helicopter lands to med flight him out of there. He now is completely freaking out because he's like, if I get on there, I'm going to die. They're going to tell me what's wrong and I'm going to die.
Wow.
So he...
little fatalistic.
Yeah. Well, he never had anything this bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going to do this for your career, you can't assume like you're going to die. The helicopter means to me, yes, somebody's going to save my life.
No, I know, but I think he had hurt himself so many times before and it wasn't like this. This was just so bad. So they had to forcefully load him onto the helicopter. He was no, I'm fine. Don't put me on the helicopter.
I'm fine.
Yeah. Swiss doctors, because he's up in the Alps somewhere practicing, Swiss doctors found he broke several ribs, bruised his lung, and lacerated his kidney.
Oh.
They told him he was lucky to be alive. And he was back competing that year.
Wow. I thought you were going to tell me, like, he snapped his clavicles and his spine.
No, he broke all of
I know
ribs.
this, but considering that's not that bad of an injury, to be honest. I know that sounds terrible, but having seen bad injuries, all right, so go ahead. In
2009, Olympic hopeful Kevin Pierce was critically injured during training on the halfpipe. He hit his head on the edge of the halfpipe and was knocked unconscious immediately. He was med-flighted to a hospital where doctors place an EVD, which is an external ventricular device, to release fluid built up in his brain. He had been attempting a double cork, a twisting double backflip. He over-rotated on his second flip and hit the edge just above his eye. So he had a pretty bad brain injury.
My son loves to watch all those, like, people getting hurt skiing,
Oh.
I know. Some of it's funny. Some of it's not. Nothing disturbs me more than when somebody's knocked unconscious. Yeah. I don't know why that bothers me.
Look of that.
They just go limp.
Yeah.
It disturbs me more than anything. And I'll always be like, just change this. I don't want to watch this anymore. And I just can't imagine being his mother and watching him go completely limp.
No. And then in 2012, Canadian free skier Sarah Burke died 9 days after crashing at the bottom of the Superpipe during a training run. It was like at a private event. So it wasn't even at the Olympics or anything like that. Like it was just, those. She was probably doing it for like an energy drink or something like that. It was the same half pipe that Kevin Pierce was injured on. Mm-hmm. She suffered irreversible brain damage due to the lack of oxygen in blood after cardiac arrest. She tore her vertebral artery in the fall, which led to severe bleeding on the brain, causing cardiac arrest. They donated her organs after she died. She was a pioneer in her field and lobbied for the super pipe skiing to be part of the Winter Games. And that is the
I had been reading about her as well, and I believe because she was doing a private event, her insurance didn't cover what happened to her. And that they had to come up with money to pay for medical bills and stuff. People donated money to pay the medical bills because she was doing it outside of the federation that she skied for. That's terrible.
Yeah.
And again, they're so far out. If you tore your vertebral artery, even if you were in the hospital lobby.
They did CPR there. She was dead.
If you were in the hospital lobby, you wouldn't be to be out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
All right, so now I'm covering ski aerials.
Okay.
All right. Skiers ski off a 2 to 4 meter jump that propels them up to 6 meters in the air. I don't know what meters are, because we're going to talk about meters in another podcast. It's pretty high. All right. We're just going with pretty high. In the air, they perform multiple flips and twists before landing on an inclined hill.
Mm-hmm.
The score is based on takeoff, jump form, and landing, then degree of difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
And when you watch them train, they train in the summer. And they train on water slides.
Mm-hmm.
And they train and they land in pools.
Slightly less.
Got to be a lot fucking different when you're landing on ice and snow.
When you hit water from that high,
I got to tell
feels
you
like
though,
concrete.
like those ski jumps are something.
I know.
I was something. So you ever watched? You probably haven't. There was a show out, and it's the guy from Sopranos, Van Zant, is in Lilyhammer. Have you heard of this show?
I've heard of it. I never watched it.
And he is a New York gangster that is in the witness protection program, and he's in Lilyhammer because that's where the Olympics were.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts getting into the usual rackets in, where is it, Switzerland and Sweden, wherever the fuck it is. So he's terrorizing this one guy, and he sends him down a ski jump. Jesus. It's the funniest thing. And the guy's like, you're not going to do it. You're not gonna... And he pushes him. The guy, obvious, and he's like this big gangster guy going off this ski jump.
Oh my God.
I almost wet my pants. All right. So during the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, 3 aerial female competitors landed headfirst in the final stages of the competition. Fortunately, none were injured, but 49% of the aerial skiers in the Sochi Olympics reported injuries.
Mm-hmm.
These athletes also suffer many ligament issues and joint issues. Yeah. They didn't get into specific people who have been hurt doing these. Yeah. But it doesn't take much imagination to realize if they land wrong from that high up in the air, it's not going to be pretty.
No.
Okay, take it again, Sparkles.
All right. I have bobsledding next.
Oh, fast. If I was going to do a sport, it'd be fucking bobsled. But I want to be in the sled, not one of those like the skeleton ones.
So I did bobsledding, but the injuries I'm going to go over are really for all the sledding events, which is bobsled, luge, and skeleton. They're all sledding events.
I'd be a bobsledder all day long.
Yeah. So bobsledding, I mean, I'm sure everybody's seen it. It's like a team. You either have 2 or 4, just depends on what race you're in. And you're in a sled, and it's like a, fiberglass frame, and you stand on the outside of it. You're at the top of the track. They all run and push, and one jumps in, one jumps in, one jumps in, one jumps in.
And then the sled does all the work, doesn't it?
No, there's a driver.
Okay, somebody is steering
person in the
sled.
front is the driver. And then there's, the whole track has turns and dips, and you got to navigate your way through and get down in the fastest time.
How much fun that would be.
I mean, it would be
a really good
fun.
run. How much fun that would be.
It's really
dangerous.
Really awful. The most common injury, go ahead, guess.
Getting run over by the sled?
Nope. Hamstring pull. Most common injury in bobsled, hamstring
pull. From the woman in the back, or the person in the back pushing the sled. So I believe it.
Get a bobsled going, you need exceptional leg strength. It is all in your legs. That's what they have to do. And most athletes focus on the strength of their quadriceps, which is the big, huge muscle in the front of your leg.
And not on the back.
But they neglect the hamstring. And the hamstring is what stabilizes the leg and knee and provides the mobility required to maximize the strength of the quads. You need that mobility from your hamstrings to use that strength.
Everything you're working on, you got to work the reverse. So if you're doing your abs, you got to work on your back. Right. You're doing your bis, you're going to do your tris. Like you have to do the opposing muscles, or it's going to look weird and hurt yourself.
Well, and it's not going to be.
We should do weightlifting.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Too much strength in the leg, but not enough flexibility leads to hamstring pulls. So you got to work both. But the most devastating injuries from sleds, which it's really from all those sleds that I talked about, are the brain injuries. Crashes in sledding sports can cause significant head injuries, but the constant shaking and jarring also cause brain injuries and sharing.
And stuff, yeah.
In the sledding sports, that is called sled head. There's actually a name for it. It's sled head.
We should name a beer after that.
Yeah. The symptoms are nausea, dizziness, exhaustion, and momentary blackouts after a run. They are constantly, that whole time, you see them in the thing. Their head is going back and forth the whole time. They are having sharing constantly.
Imagine, I wonder how that leads to them as far as, Alzheimer's.
Okay. We go on.
Dementia.
So there's a story, I'm going to tell the story about 2 bobsledders from Wyoming. And we'll go into the other problem from it. So Travis Bell was a bobsledder from Wyoming. He was an up-and-coming driver on the U.S. bobsled team when Joe, I'm going to say Sasson, but I'm not really sure. When Joe Sasson started training in 1997, Bell took Sasson under his wing. When Sasson tells him, you know, I want to be a driver someday, like he was up the back of the sled. He's like, I want to be a driver like you someday. Bell takes him. He's like, he made him sign a contract. Like, I will keep my mouth shut and listen to every instruction given to me. And in his teachings, you know, he tells him everything he needs to know. Bell tells him, I black out while I'm driving. I don't even remember the last 3 or 4 turns that happen when I'm driving these sleds. So he has severe.
How does he do it?
It's like muscle memory or something, because you go down the track so many times, you know the
It's
turns.
like me
and
driving
stuff.
to work. I black out right up at the Tobin Bridge.
Yeah. So in 1999, Bell was filming a commercial for the 2002 Olympics for GMC, because he's like this big guy for the bobsled team. There's a camera mounted on his sled for this commercial. The camera comes free, goes under his sled. It makes the sled fly up into the air. Bell's head crashed into the roof of the track. Bell was 27 at the time, sustained multiple brain bleeds and microscopic tears in his white matter from shearing.
Oh.
He also had severe brain swelling. He lives. He had to have surgery and, you know, all this other stuff. He sues GM and the production team that made this thing, and he gets enough money. He settles for enough money that he doesn't have to work for a few years. However, he suffers from seizures, migraines, chronic pain. For the chronic pain, they prescribe him Vicodin and OxyContin.
So he's an addict.
He becomes an addict. In 2014, Bell committed suicide. It was his second attempt. He was 42 years old. His father said, in reality, he died the day of the crash. He never recovered.
Oh, that's a horrible story, Laura. Why do I listen to this podcast?
I know.
Jesus Christ.
So then Sasson, this kid who looks up to Bell and, you know, is trained by him, crashes the day after the Super Bowl in 2002. He stayed up late. He watched the Super Bowl. You know, they were probably partying with his friends.
Is that the one the Pats won? I think it is. I would watch it too.
I know. So he wakes up late because now he's been up till like 4 a.m. He wakes up late. He's like, shit. He rushes to the track. He does not go through the normal steps of checking the sled. You have to check your sled before you go down those hills. But these people kind of take it for granted at the same time. You know, you do it every day. You don't think it's this dangerous thing.
So it's like you don't think you're using a used sled that's a piece of shit.
Yeah. So he pushes off, doesn't check his sled. Once he's in the run, he realizes that the steering mechanism is frozen. So he cannot steer this sled. He gets through the 8 turns. On the 9th, he loses control. His head hit the edge of the wall, like where his chin hits the edge of the wall and knocks him unconscious. Then the back left of his head hit the wall, and it, you know, gives him further damage. The sled flips.
It hits him.
His head is caught between the sled, which is like 400 pounds, and the wall for hundreds of yards.
Oh, my God.
He's airlifted to a trauma center, obviously. They do a Glasgow coma scale, which tells you like how alert you are. 15 is
the best.
Us right now. 3 is
12.
3 is you're pretty much dead. And he had a 5.
Oh man.
His family, he was in Switzerland. His family is told, don't bother coming. He's not going to make it. Don't bother
I would
coming.
go anyway. You're not going to stop me.
His family scrambles, gets their passports, and goes over. But they were told this isn't survivable. They performed burr holes to relieve the blood and pressure on his brain. So they make like some holes with a drill, get all that blood out, so there's no pressure sitting on your brain. He's kept in a coma for 4 days. Week after the crash, he flies back to Salt Lake City. On a medical plane, obviously. 21.
Yeah, these kids are amazing.
I know. He's to go to a rehab. He goes to a rehab in Salt Lake City. A week after going to the rehab in Salt Lake City, he goes to the Olympic medal ceremony.
Wow.
Bell is there. There's like a picture of them hugging because like he's like, oh my God, you survived, blah, blah, blah. Because this is before Bell
kills himself.
2 weeks later, he moves home. And over the next year, he slowly progressed. Like he can start to, write. Then he can start to do this. Then he can start to drive.
Major rehab, though. Yeah. Major rehab.
So within a year, he can drive and pretty much do everything he could pre-crash. After 2 years, he's cleared to sled again.
Nope. I would be like, you're done. You are done.
The doctor said, so the doctor's like, I mean, you're clear. Like there's nothing
No.
keeping you from doing
No,
it.
You've been given a second chance.
He crashes, like, first time out. His wife's like, that's it. You're done. No more. And he did not go back to it. He now coaches, like, high school football.
Yeah. Like, go coach this shit.
And the doctor said, I wish I never said he could do. Not that it hurt him any further, but he's like, I should have. I don't know. I didn't know the risks involved in the sport. They think because he did so well because he was only 21 and he had not been in sledding for long. He hadn't been doing it for years and years. So he didn't have all that damage from just sitting in the sled. There are lots of retired sledders now with addiction problems, overdoses, debilitating health problems, and suicides.
It's almost like they're fighters. You know how fighters get all
constant
fucked
head
up
injuries.
in the head? Yeah.
Or football players. One suicide victim, they did an autopsy in 2020 because they were a retired sledder who killed themselves, and they were found to have CTE. So they think all these sledders have CTE now. And that's bobsledding. It's very, very dangerous.
Is it worth the medal?
I know. This guy went through this thing. His head stuck between the fucking sled and the wall, and he goes back out. I don't have
another thing. So do you have that guy that the video,
Yeah, I have the deaths.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Sorry. I forgot about that one. Okay, so now we're covering a couple of the deaths in the Olympics. I am covering the first Winter Olympic death from theguardian.com.
Yeah.
Ross. Did I write your name? I have it written down. Give me a second. Ross that's why, because I can't pronounce it. Milne. 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 I'm going to call him Milne. We'll just call him Ross.
Okay.
All right. So it's January 25th, 1964. Ross is an Australian alpine skier, and he's part of the small Australian Winter Olympic team consisting of 4 male skiers and 2 female skiers. He was 19 years old, carefree teenager, super competitor, quote, a good quality bloke.
Mm-hmm.
So they are at the Innsbruck Games in like Finland or Sweden or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This country for this 1964 winter had no snow. There's nothing. So they're shipping in the snow. The army trucks are lining the snow. So it's making the snow itself super fast. Like it's icy, it's fast. Yeah. And it's snow. There's a snow path for the skiers, and then it's dirt, rocks, and trees. Yes. So if you fall off of this path for whatever reason, and if you've ever been skiing and you hit dirt or you hit grass, your skis go and you go flying. All right, it's dangerous. So
I hate spring skiing.
Right. So it's in Austria. Excuse me. The Austrian newspaper printed an article about the track with the headline, "A trapeze act without a net." The article described how dangerous the course was, how many places the racers are like, the course is right against the woods, so there's no protection from the trees. They just threw some sandbags down, and there's spectators as well going down the side. So Ross at 11:30, he sets off down the hill at about 300 meters into the run. He's at the steepest part of the course. So when you're skiing it, you don't see this part of the course till you're on this part of the course. It's just like all of a sudden there's this hill. He is going probably about 40 miles an hour when he hits this part. And as he's coming over it, there's a group of skis in front of him. He swerves to avoid them headfirst into a tree. So another skier walked up to see what happened, and he quotes, "I walked up and I had a look at him, and, well, it wasn't too good. He was unconscious, pulled off the mountain, and rushed to the hospital. He was dead on arrival." After and it got very controversial after the crash, because some people were saying, well, he was only 19, he shouldn't have been skiing, which is unheard of now, but in 1964, I guess to be experienced at anything, you had to be over 25. It's a huge debate saying that, he shouldn't have competed, he had no experience. Other people were like, this track was extremely unsafe. So this went back and forth. But right after the crash, they added extra gates to slow the races down, and they threw a couple more sandbags.
Oh, yeah, that's going to help you.
But he was the first Winter Olympic death in 1964.
Poor kid.
And that was with alpine skiing.
Okay. So I have 2 luge deaths. So I'm going to slaughter these 4 people's names. So Kazimierz K. Skrzpecki was born November 25th,
We'll just call him KK.
1905, and died on January 22nd, 1964.
Ooh, that was a bad year.
Luge made its debut as an Olympic sport at the 1964 Innsbruck Olympics. And it began with a terrible tragedy. I'm going to call him K. Skrzpecki, was a 58-year-old competitor.
Wow.
Yeah.
God bless, huh?
Yeah.
Told you they had to be experienced.
Yeah. He was a British slider, and he crashed on a practice run.
Oh.
He survived the crash, but had sustained many fractures, including his skull and pelvis.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, and he passed away while in surgery the day after the accident. He had been born in Poland, and he was a former RAF fighter pilot.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
And he didn't even become interested in the sport until much later in life, like in his 50s. And that's really all the information they have on him, but he was the first luge death at the first time it was in the Olympics. Right. And then I have...
it's never shaken the reputation since.
No. I have... oh my God, these poor names. Nodar Kumari Tashvili. We're going to go with that. He was from the country Georgia.
That always throws me off.
I know. He was born November 25th, 1988. And he was a Georgian luge athlete who suffered a fatal crash during a training run for the 2010 Winter Olympics competition in Whistler, British Columbia, Canada, on the day of the opening ceremony.
I remember hearing about this.
So I'm sitting there, because I love the Olympics, and I'm sitting there, what year was this? 2010, so Jack was 6, and Sam was 4. I'm like, come on.
Let's watch the Olympics.
Go home. Put the Olympics on. We're sitting on the couch in Malden. Like, I can vividly remember us sitting on the couch watching this. I'm like, ooh, it's the luge. They're warming up. You know, they're practicing for it. And we're sitting there watching it. And I watched this. And I said, oh my God, they just watched that man die. Like, they literally show him die. They didn't know. They couldn't cut away because they didn't know what was happening. We watched this poor man die on national TV. It was awful.
Thank God they don't remember it. And I only remember it because it sparked off a huge debate.
Yeah, I remember it vividly. Yeah, like I can see him doing it in my mind.
I remember the debate it kicked off.
Oh my God. So he first began to participate in the luge when he was 13.
Oh my God.
But he came from a family of seasoned lugers.
I don't care. I couldn't put my kid on one of those.
I know. His grandfather had introduced the sport to the country of Georgia. And both his father and uncle had competed when they were young. And his uncle later served as the head of the Georgian Luge Federation.
So he didn't have a choice.
He was a luger.
He didn't have no choice.
That's what he was. Like, imagine the pressure. Like, you have to do that.
He was a luger, not a loser. He was a
luger. So the venue for the Olympic luge competition, the Whistler Sliding Center, was designed by Udo Gergel. The final version was produced on October 23rd, 2004. All tracks are different. Mm-hmm. The heights, the dips, the churns, they're all different. The maximum calculated speed for the men's luge was 84.7 miles per hour.
Holy
on this track,
shit!
Which was within normal range.
Yes, but you're not even protected.
You know, these guys, I don't think you're on a sled with nothing around you.
It's just you on a sled. It's like laying on one of those old metal
your back.
ones. Yeah.
Like, you know, and you're
holding on,
facing down, holding on. That's it. That's all you're on.
And you're going 84 miles an hour, so it's like being on the highway with nothing but wheels under you.
Yes, on ice. After construction, during the track certification process, they have to go through it, check it, make sure everything's fine. The track produced speeds exceeding the design calculations by at least 6 miles per hour.
So now he's doing over 90.
Mm-hmm. Following the Olympic test event in February 2009, the president of the FIL sent a letter to the Olympic Committee expressing surprise that a record speed of 95 miles per hour had been reached.
Holy shit.
Concluding that the designer's calculations were incorrect and stating that the high speeds make me worry.
Yeah, as they should have.
Yeah. There were many concerns brought up about people on this track, people practicing on this track. They're like, this is way too fast. It's way too fast. Like, it was said over and over and over again. They just said, it's a good track. There's nothing wrong with it.
Those are always the words before a major tragedy. Yeah. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. On February 12th, 2010, after 25 previous attempts, 15 of them from the men's start. Nodar, I'm going to call him, was fatally injured in a crash during his final training run after losing control in the last turn of the course. He made it through the whole thing in the last turn. He loses control.
The feeling of that must be horrific.
He was thrown off of the luge and over the sidewall of the track. And there was steel support beams over that side.
That's what I remember. So remember we were talking about this the other night? I'm like, he hit a beam or something, didn't he?
And he struck the unprotected steel support pole at the end of the run.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
He was traveling 89.2 miles per hour at the moment of impact. And he just hit he's like laying flat, like through the air. He hit that pole and I was like, oh my God, they just watched him die. You knew he died the second he hit it. He was dead the second he hit that.
God forgive me, but at least it was quick.
Like, he didn't know. It was like a second.
Yeah, he saw the pole and that was the last thing
I don't even know that he saw the pole.
Yeah.
Medics were at his side immediately. They did CPR. They did mouth to mouth.
He's done.
Yeah. They airlifted him to a Whistler hospital, but
90 miles an hour.
He was dead at the course. Yeah. He was dead at the course. It was Luge's first fatality since December 10th, 1975, when an Italian luger had been killed. He was the fourth athlete to die during preparations for Winter Olympics. So the footage is televised live. They took it down like immediately.
I remember that.
You couldn't see it. They didn't replay it, but it was out there.
It was horrific. It was horrific. And I can remember it being all over the news, the debate about how dangerous that sport is, how dangerous skeleton. What is the difference between...
The skeleton, they're laying on their belly with their face first.
Right, so it's the same.
Luge is on your back.
At least your feet are going to hit first.
Although you're just going to shatter your pelvis if your feet go into the wall.
But they were talking about how dangerous those sports are.
Yeah.
And I remember that big debate going back and forth.
Yeah. So immediately after the race, the Olympic Committee said that his death was not caused by an unsafe track.
Oh, come on.
But as a preventative measure, the walls at the exit of Curve 16 were raised. So they made the walls go up higher. And the ice profile was adjusted. So they fixed the ice somehow on it. Padding was also added to the exposed metal beams.
As they should have
been.
Near
the finish line.
It's still, even padding,
no,
90 miles an hour, it's not going to make a friggin' bit of difference.
Olympic officials claimed the changes were not for safety reasons, but to accommodate the emotional state of lugers. In addition, the start of the men's luge was moved to the women's starting point, which the women start further down the track. And the women's starting point was moved even further down because it was too fast.
Yeah.
Training runs on the track resumed on February 13th after the changes were made. 3 lugers did not participate in training runs on that day. And the autopsy came back. Obviously the coroner's report came back on September 16th that year.
Severe brain injury.
Well, it's weird. The coroner ruled his death an accident brought on by, quote, interaction of factors.
Interaction of him hitting a pole.
Yeah. Including the high speed of the track, its technical difficulty, and the athlete's relative unfamiliarity with the track. He said that it was reasonable to assume that Nodar was sliding faster than ever before in his life and was attempting to go even faster while simultaneously struggling to learn the intricacies of the track and the dynamics it created.
Can I just say, why is the coroner making that determination? How is he to make that determination?
I think they take
Doesn't he just determine what actually
No,
caused
I
the
think
death?
they take all that into... I do think they take all that into consideration. Like, even if, like... God,
I would think an investigative committee would have come up with that part of it.
Well, I think they give them all that. No, I think a coroner does look at all that stuff.
They're looking at that.
They were also saying that a lot of people, Nodar's father, didn't accept the statement that it was his lack of experience, because they were saying it's his lack of experience, because
he's been doing it since he was 13.
Right.
Come on.
Georgia doesn't have any luge tracks though, so they have to go to a special, like another country, so they don't get as much as people who live in a country that has a track. Like Canada had that one, or Salt Lake City has one, or we have them so they can train more. He couldn't train as much, but the kid was not new to the sport. He has been doing it. He was raised doing it.
Head of the luge.
Right. The track was dangerous.
Yeah.
And it was too fast. And they're lucky more people didn't get hurt.
Oh, man, a shevitz.
Yeah, poor guy. But I remember to this day seeing that, and that was just awful.
Again, no interest. I don't look at any of these things and thought, I want to do that. No. I sit inside where it's warm and think, I'm glad I'm inside.
Yeah. No, I don't want to do that.
There's a lot of things I look at and think, no desire to do that.
Yeah. So, these places are built, right? Like I was saying, like there's not a training facility in this country, but there are here.
Right.
The problem is those training facilities stay open. People think it's fun, like in that Lilyhammer, to send somebody down a slide.
Well, he was doing it,
I know.
as a mob thing.
But I have a news story.
Oh, Laura comes up with the added bonus. Bump, bump, bump.
Yep. I'm going to just read this to you. It's
I'd
from
love it.
CBSnews.com in 2016.
Ooh, recent.
From Calgary, Alberta. Police say 2 young men died and 6 others were injured after using their personal sled to go down a luge bobsled track after hours at the Canada Olympic Park in Calgary.
Shit.
Calgary police said Saturday that emergency crews received a call from an employee at the Winsport Canada facility in northwest Calgary at 1:30 a.m. after a report of several injured people on a closed track. The inspector says the partway down the track, the male teenagers hit a large gate that's used to separate the luge and bobsled tracks. Winsport Canada owns and operates Canada Olympic Park, which hosted events during the 1988 Winter Olympics. The CBC reports the pair who died were twin brothers.
They died.
Both aged 17. 6 others were injured in the accident. They were allegedly all on the same sled when it crashed.
It's tragic when anybody dies. But when I hear of twins dying, it just sends me over the edge. Was it Christmas? Christmas Day?
Oh, yeah, the accident.
There was an accident and 2 brothers, twin brothers, went off and hit a tree and they both died. And I it's from the mother's point of view. It could be her only kids. And she's lost her whole fucking family.
I know.
Like, it makes me sick to my stomach when I think it's hard enough to lose a child, but to lose 2, I can't.
I know.
I don't know how I'd do it.
But these things are open. They are not for us to use.
I can't say that if I was presented with a sled and a track that I wouldn't have attempted to do it.
Okay, but these professionals?
I would never have expected a gate to be on the track.
But even if it wasn't a gate.
Right, well, I probably
You're
would
going 90 miles an
I'd
hour.
start from the top. I'd probably, and I'd have my feet dragging like I do, but I know, but I'm just saying, like, I can't say I would be that stupid 17-year-old.
It's not
I know, but I would be that stupid 17-year-old, but I would never have expected, and this is why the stupid 17-year-olds, I would never have expected a gate. I wonder if the gate wasn't there, if they would have survived.
I don't know. I mean,
but
I'm sure they would have been injured.
Hit that gate doing 70 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about it all the time, sledding and fucking Everett.
I don't know how we all didn't die of head injuries.
Glendale Park Hill. I'll never forget it. It's now the site of the high school, so you can't use this hill, but this hill was high. I mean, it was like climbing a mountain to get to the top of it.
All rocks.
It was all rocks. So one side, there were the stairs that had a rock wall going down. And then at the bottom of it, so you would go to a little plateau and shoom, go back down the rest, right into the back fence gate of the baseball field. So you had to sled with your legs in front of you and keep your knees to the side so you could bounce off the fence and not take a knee to the face. And I remember I was a newly minted EMT, and that's how old I was still sledding this hill because I fucking loved it. And a young girl, she must have been 12, head first into the stone wall.
Oh, God.
She was alert. Her father was a fucking mess.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to her, she's back, but like we were waiting for the ambulance. She wasn't even backboarded. She was laying there. We're like, you can't move. My brother's there. Of course, he's going to save the day. And I remember just saying to her, I know you're scared, but your father can't even speak. You have to tell your father you're okay.
Yeah.
Even if you're not, just lie to him and tell him you're okay. And she's like, all right. And her father came home. She was like, Daddy, I'm all right. Dad, I'm fine. And you could visibly see him calm down. I'm like, just lie to him and tell him you're okay because we need information from him.
Right.
And he can't speak. Right. Poor guy. I mean, there was blood all over. Hope you're all right. You're probably 40 years old now, but I hope you're all right. But yeah, so, I mean, we didn't care.
No, that was nuts. But
we do that drinking.
Different than an Olympic luge track.
True, but you were going head first into a friggin'
you should have gone feet first.
I mean, we knew the gate was there.
You don't go down head first to Glendale Park. You're going to take a rock to the forehead before you even get to the fence.
It was so much
fun.
God. All right, so that being said, tuck in to the Winter Olympics. Get your nice lap blanket. Put the fire on. Get your hot chocolate. get ready,
Mhm.
and let's see how many injuries we count in this Olympics.
When you're
Hopefully
watching
none.
them on that half pipe and they're 30 feet in the fucking air,
Yep.
you're going to be like, don't hit your head, don't hit your head,
Don't hit your
head.
chin, don't hit your shoulder.
Oh.
Yes, on the moguls, and you can just think those.
Yeah, when you
knees are
see
gonna
one
be-
of the knee blows, because one of the knees will blow.
Yeah, they're not going to be walking by the time they're 50. They're a hot
Oh,
mess.
God, no.
Next week, we're going to continue with our winter theme, and we're going on some expeditions. So, yeah, we're going to go on some expeditions. Some come back alive, some do not.
Mhm.
And there's going to be some interesting cuisines,
Mm-hmm.
and
It's going to be freezing cold.
it's going to be very cold.
Freezing cold.
I get cold thinking about it.
Yeah.
And again, there's going to be instances where I'm going to say, no desire. Absolutely no desire.
The whole story, I have zero desire to do.
Yep.
Zero.
So enjoy and
Mhm.
settle in for our winter episodes, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
Like, subscribe, rate, and review the Scissors and Scrubs podcast on whatever podcast app you listen to us on. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Scissors and Scrubs. And email us any of your stories or thoughts to scissorsnscrubs@gmail.com.